What if the edge of the galaxy held secrets that could shatter everything we know? I still remember the moment when senior cartographer Zeith Bar first saw the blank spot on the galactic map. There he was, standing before the central projection of the Galactic Mapping Authority, his arms folded and his mind racing with questions. For over 3,000 years, the GMA had prided itself on charting 97.3% of the known galaxy. Yet, here in the midst of meticulously drawn stars and swirling nebulae, a single mysterious void stretched over 12,000 light-years, a blank patch marked only as restricted zone human territorial space. It wasn't just any empty spot. This was human space, and no one in the galactic community dared to ask why it was kept secret. The mystery was not simply a missing piece on a map. It was a door to untold stories and dangers that lay beyond what any star chart could explain. The tension in the room was palpable as Director Orin, an ancient Valyrian with translucent skin pulsing with the rhythm of 3 slow-beating hearts, spoke to Zeith. I found 17 mission logs from mapping vessels that ventured too close to human space over the last 50 cycles, he said in a tone that mixed irritation with resignation. None of them came back with complete data. Orin's eyes, clear as crystalline pools, narrowed as he continued. The humans insist on keeping their space off the record. Unlike others, they refuse even basic mapping. Other species in the galaxy made exceptions. The Duraxians, despite their deep-rooted religious beliefs, allowed basic astrographic mapping. The Halton Collective demanded oversight but still permitted the work. Yet humans, with all their defiant independence, stood alone in their secrecy. This was not just a matter of territorial rights. It was a matter of cosmic mystery, but Zeith wasn't satisfied with the official word. He had seen too many corrupted logs and heard too many stories of vanished ships to let this go unanswered. After his shift ended, he retreated to his private research station. There, in the dusty recesses of old archives that dated back to a time before humanity officially joined the galactic community, he discovered a history that both fascinated and disturbed him. Early exploration vessels once roamed freely in what was now human space, mapping wondrous worlds teeming with resources and life. Then, around 300 years ago, everything changed. Vessels began reporting strange problems, navigation issues, sensors going haywire, and odd, unexplained phenomena. And then, as if by magic, humans emerged. A species that had only dabbled in space travel a few centuries before suddenly controlled vast swathes of territory. The abrupt change baffled Zeith and stirred his innate curiosity one day, as he pored over historical sensor readings from the last successful mapping mission to cross into human space. His research assistant, Leaner, stepped into his station. Her gentle voice broke his concentration. "Zeith, you shouldn't be looking at these records without permission." The director would not be pleased. She had delicate, aven features, and her crest of feathers signaled her worry. But Zeith waved off her concerns with a determined glint in his eye. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the screen. "These energy readings from that expedition don't match any known cosmic events. And these distortions in gravity? They're impossible by our standard physics." Leaner studied the readings carefully. "Maybe the area is naturally unstable," she suggested, though the idea did little to ease his growing unease. For Zeith, every piece of evidence only deepened the mystery. If natural anomalies were the cause, why the intense secrecy? He pulled up more files and noted that the human defensive grid extended as far inside as it did outside, hinting that something, or someone, was being kept contained. Soon, his determination turned into a full-blown quest. Zeith began assembling a small team of specialists, each one a master in their own field. First, there was Krev Dorn, a brilliant propulsion engineer who could tweak their vessel's signature to slip past any detection. Then came the Sun, a cultural expert whose study of emerging civilizations would help them understand human behavior. Moravex, a security specialist with a strong military background, joined them as well, ensuring that if things went wrong, they'd be ready to fight. And of course, Leaner stayed by Zeith's side, her curiosity matching his own. Their vessel, the Stellar Inquiry, was sent on what was officially a survey mission to an unremarkable star cluster. But as soon as they escaped the watchful eyes of monitoring stations, Krev activated his modifications, and the ship's true destination became clear: human territorial space. As they approached the border, Leonard, the ship's navigator, announced in a calm tone that they were crossing into unknown territory. The view screen showed nothing more than endless stars and the quiet vacuum of space, a sight that was as deceiving as it was peaceful. Shortly after crossing the border, however, the quiet was shattered. The instruments began to behave strangely. Lights flickered, gravity seemed to shift, and the quantum positioning system displayed coordinates that defied all logic. "Something is messing with our sensors," Krev reported as his hands flew over the controls, trying to make sense of the interference. It felt as if space itself had different rules in this forbidden zone. Zeith's heart pounded with a mix of vindication and worry. Here was concrete evidence that there was something unusual about human space, a phenomenon that wasn't just a quirk of nature, but possibly a deliberate shield. They pressed on with extreme caution, recording every anomaly, every unexpected signal. On the third day of their journey, the crew detected a small human outpost orbiting an otherwise unremarkable moon. The scans they captured were detailed and full of surprises. Philia, the ship's science officer, studied the data closely. "Their technology is strange," she commented. "Some parts are super advanced, while others look almost old-fashioned." She pointed out arrays on the outpost that weren't for communications or weapons. Instead, they were monitoring something more profound: space-time stability. Krev theorized that these instruments were checking the very fabric of reality. As the crew ventured deeper, they found more outposts, each equipped with similar monitoring devices. The more they saw, the more the spatial anomalies grew, and stars would sometimes seem to blink out of existence or appear distorted, leaving the crew both fascinated and terrified. By the fifth day, the team intercepted coded messages between human vessels. Leonard managed to decode fragments that spoke of maintaining boundary integrity and deploying teams to secure certain sectors. Their curiosity peaked when a sleek human patrol vessel suddenly emerged from behind a small asteroid. The crew tensed, expecting a hostile encounter, but the human ship merely adjusted its course, silently tracking the stellar inquiry. "It looks like they know we're here," Moravec noted, his tone calm but alert. Zeith decided it was time to make contact. He sent out a clear, direct hail, introducing himself as the senior cartographer of the Galactic Mapping Authority and explaining that they were on a routine survey mission. The human responded without hesitation. The view screen flickered and then showed a human woman with a steady, serious expression. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered restricted space." "State your purpose," she said flatly. Zeith explained that the GMA was aware of the exception under the Galactic Council Agreement, and that they were simply trying to understand the strange losses and malfunctions experienced by previous mapping vessels. Her eyes flickered with something. Was it recognition? Hesitation? "Transmit your vessel's specifications and crew details," she ordered, adding that they should hold position while she evaluated the request. After the transmission ended, Leonard turned to Zeith. "I'm not surprised," she said softly. "We knew someone would eventually come looking for answers." Hours later, the humans sent coordinates for a meeting at a small outpost. Despite Moravec's concerns about security, Zeith agreed. They had come too far to turn back now. The human outpost was simple and unadorned, a far cry from the grand architectural designs common among other galactic species. There, they met with 3 humans. The woman from the screen was there again, now introduced as Commander Sarah Chun of the Earth Containment Division. She greeted them coolly. "Your presence here is problematic, but perhaps inevitable," she said. When Zeith asked why their space was kept secret, she paused, then posed an unexpected question. "What do you know about multiversal theory, Carter?" This question caught Zeith off guard. Multiversal theory, the idea of many parallel universes, had always been a topic of wild speculation and heated debate. Yet Chin's tone left no room for debate. "It's not just theory," she explained. "Empirical evidence shows that 300 years ago, when humanity first ventured beyond our solar system, we discovered that the boundaries between universes are not stable. In some regions, they're dangerously thin." Krev, whose mind was always set on solving technical puzzles, immediately grasped the implications. "Are you saying there are breaches between universes?" he asked. Chin nodded solemnly. "Yes, in this spiral arm, The wall between our universe and others has been compromised for a long time. When humans developed faster-than-light travel, we encountered these breaches. And what was coming through them? Things that simply do not belong in our reality. The crew listened in a mix of awe and horror as Chen continued. The human defensive grid you see extends far beyond what you'd expect. It's not just to keep out potential invaders. It's to contain something far worse. Our sensors, your sensors, they aren't made to handle what lurks at these boundaries. Many mapping vessels lost their data, or worse, because they stumbled into these thin spots. A chill ran through Zeith as the pieces of the puzzle began to come together. So, you've been containing interdimensional breaches all this time? He asked. Chen's face hardened. Exactly. Our technology was developed in response to these breaches. We monitor, we contain, and if necessary, we fight back. These breaches could eventually tear apart the fabric of our universe if left unchecked. Moravex, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. But why the secrecy? Why not share this with the galaxy? Chen sighed. Most species are not ready for the truth. The Galactic Council tried once to expose what was happening, and the fallout was catastrophic. Mass panic, religious wars, and even attempts to weaponize the breaches led to uncontrollable chaos. Humans are uniquely prepared, thanks to our long history of myths and legends about cosmic horrors. We were psychologically primed to handle the unimaginable. Zeith's mind raced. The losses of previous mapping missions, the corrupted data, the unexplained psychological trauma, it all pointed to these breaches. Chen's next words brought even greater clarity. Your vessels disappeared because they encountered these breaches. Their instruments were not built to filter out the distortion safely. At best, they got scrambled data. At worst, the crew was exposed to things that no one should ever see. As the meeting progressed, Commander Chen took them on a guided tour of one of the human outposts. In a secure viewing room aboard her command vessel, the team watched grainy footage from the early days of Earth space travel. They saw settlements engulfed by spatial anomalies, buildings twisted into bizarre shapes, and colonists whose fates were more tragic than they could bear to recount. Chen's voice was steady but laced with sorrow as she explained, "We lost 8 colonies to these anomalies. Millions suffered, and many chose to end their lives rather than live with the horror they experienced." Krev leaned forward, clearly disturbed. "So what did you do?" he asked. Chen's answer was both simple and profound. Necessity forced us to innovate. We learned to detect thin spots in the fabric of reality, and we built technology to reinforce it. We set up buffer zones, entire regions where we can let breaches happen without risking populated worlds. The restricted zone you saw on the map? It's one giant containment system. For hours, the crew absorbed the truth about humanity's secret burden. They learned about the Earth Containment Division's relentless work, how nearly 60% of humanity's resources were dedicated to this cause, how trillions of humans were employed in building and maintaining the technology that held the breaches at bay, and how entire planets were devoted to manufacturing the specialized gear needed to survive the effects of interdimensional incursions. One of the most startling revelations came when Commander Chun described a recent event. Right now, she said, we handle about 700 incursions every year. They range from small, almost harmless seepages to events that could potentially wipe out entire worlds. Without our intervention, these breaches would have expanded unchecked and could have swallowed the entire galaxy. The team of the Stellar Inquiry was visibly shaken. Zeith's voice was barely a whisper when he finally asked, "How long have you been doing this?" Chen's answer was quiet, but filled with the weight of centuries of sacrifice. Since we first developed faster-than-light travel, we discovered the breaches early on. Our first colonies were hit hard before we even knew what was happening. We had to act quickly, and ever since, we have been the guardians of this region. After the meeting, as the crew gathered back on the Stellar Inquiry, a heavy silence settled over them. They knew that what they had learned was not just about maps or lost missions. It was a story of sacrifice, of a species that had taken on a burden no one else could bear. Humanity, once considered a newcomer in the galactic community, had quietly become the protector of existence itself. They had faced horrors that defied all human understanding and had chosen to hide the truth for the sake of all sentient beings. In the following days, Commander Chun and her team provided the Stellar Inquiry crew with a carefully curated lesson on their containment protocols. They visited several monitoring stations and anchor facilities, massive structures that continuously reinforced the laws of physics across human space. Each visit revealed a level of dedication and technical ingenuity that left Zeith and his crew in awe. The scale of the operation was staggering, an operation that was not about power or conquest, but about survival and protection. As the Stellar Inquiry prepared to leave human space and return to the Galactic Mapping Authority headquarters, Zeith found himself wrestling with a difficult question. He turned to Commander Chen one last time. "What will you do with us now that we know the truth?" he asked. Her smile was soft yet firm. "That is up to you," she replied. "You came seeking the truth, and now you must decide how to handle this knowledge. It is not a burden to be carried lightly." Back at the GMA headquarters, Director Oren awaited their return. His ancient features betrayed no emotion as he greeted Zeith, who could barely hide the turmoil inside him. "You knew," Zeith accused, referencing the long-held secret that the Council and a select few had known for centuries. Oren's response was measured. "Yes, those with the need to know and the capacity to understand were told. Humanity bears its burden with remarkable strength." Zeith's voice wavered as he asked, "Could you ask the rest of the galaxy to share that weight?" There was a long pause before Oren replied, "No, but I propose a compromise." 1 month later, the official galactic maps were updated. Human territorial space remained restricted, but was now marked as a protected zone, spatial anomaly containment region, navigation hazard, human oversight authority. No details were given about interdimensional breaches or the entities that threatened reality. Instead, the designation was a quiet acknowledgement that humans had assumed an enormous responsibility. Leonard, standing next to Zeith as he studied the updated map, asked, "Do you think it's enough?" Zeith answered, "It is truth without terror, a truth that acknowledges danger without exposing us to it." In that moment, as the vastness of space stretched out before them, Zeith understood the depth of humanity's sacrifice. Along the edge of human territory, reality anchors continued their eternal vigil, maintained by a species that had taken on a burden they never sought. They did so not for glory or power, but to protect every sentient being from horrors that no one could truly comprehend. As the Stellar Inquiry sailed away from human space, Zeith's thoughts echoed with the silent promise of countless lives saved by those who dared to face the unknown. The journey had changed him profoundly. What started as a quest for answers had turned into an exploration of the human spirit, a spirit that could bear unimaginable truths, protect existence itself, and do so with quiet determination. This story is not just about maps or mysterious blank spots in space. It is about the courage to face what lies beyond and the willingness to carry a secret that could break lesser souls. Humanity, with its rough edges and bold dreams, had stepped up when no one else could. In doing so, they had redefined what it meant to be truly human in a universe filled with endless wonders and unspeakable dangers. Now, as you sit here with these words echoing in your mind, consider this. What would you do if you held the truth about the fate of the entire galaxy? Would you hide it to protect others, or would you share it in hopes of finding help? The choices we make in the face of the unknown shape not only our destiny, but the fate of all life in the cosmos. Thank you for joining me on this journey beyond the familiar, into a realm where every star hides a secret and every boundary holds a story of sacrifice. Stay curious, stay brave, and remember that sometimes the greatest mysteries lie right at the edge of what we know. The story we've shared today is a reminder that behind every blank space on a map, there might be a tale of struggle, protection, and the unyielding human spirit. Humanity's role as the keeper of dangerous secrets is not one they chose lightly, but one they bear with honor for the sake of all who call this galaxy home. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your heart open to the mysteries that lie beyond. The universe is vast, and sometimes the most incredible stories are hidden in the silent spaces between the stars.